Salut chers téléspectateurs, ravi.
Hello dear viewers, glad to see you again on Football Planet on Africa News. Here's what's coming up.
Donc voici les titres.
An eventful week for African football. First, the detention of the CAF president in Paris. Ahmad Ahmad was arrested and released on suspicion of corruption. This was a major blow to the image of the African football body and boss just a few days before the Africa Cup of Nations kicks off. And then the anger of Esperance after CAF's decision to replay the Champions League second leg final, a decision that the Moroccans of Wydad Casablanca are pleased with, but which does not put an end to the controversy. You will hear the Moroccan assistant coach in a few moments. And then the Women's World Cup, which began on Friday in France, failed to get off to a good start. South Africa and Nigeria fell from the start, while Cameroon played on Monday to try to save the honor of the continent. Welcome to Football Planet. The news had the effect of a bomb. The arrest of the CAF president on Thursday in Paris was a shocker. Ahmad Ahmad is suspected of bribery in a sponsorship deal. After several hours in police custody, he was released without any further proceedings. This doesn't mean the end of the African football chief's troubles. A look back at this disturbing episode with William Tonye Baiha and Fida Mbala Mlemwa.
Caught unawares, a shell-shocked Ahmad Ahmad, president of the African Football Confederation, was recently apprehended in Paris while attending a FIFA conference. The French judicial police were waiting to caution him on the suspicions of corruption on how CAF unilaterally broke the contract with equipment manufacturer Puma. The African football boss spent several hours in police custody as part of a judicial investigation into criminal association, corruption, breach of trust and forgery. He managed to leave the central office for the fight against corruption and financial and fiscal offenses without any charges. However, this does not mean that he's completely clear of these allegations. These legal setbacks do not help to restore the already damaged image of CAF and that of its highly criticized president. Ahmad Ahmad and his team were expected to restore credibility to the body, but they seem far from these hopes raised by Issa Ayoto's departure.
The situation is all the more disturbing as it comes a few days after the Champions League turmoil began. The highly controversial final between Esperance of Tunisia and Wydad Casablanca will finally be replayed on neutral ground. This was decided by CAF, a decision that, it must be said, raises as many questions as it answers. Here's Bridget Ugwe and Jerry Bambi.
The triumph lasted only 5 days and got cut short. Esperance of Tunisia has been ordered to return the trophy won at the end of a controversial 1-0 victory against Wydad Casablanca of Morocco in the final of the CAF Champions League. The Tunisian club will also have to replay the match against Wydad Casablanca. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, ordered the decision in order to save face after a scandal was triggered by the dysfunction of the VAR during the return leg of the final. According to a CAF statement, the conditions of the game and safety were not met. Therefore, the second leg will be replayed at a neutral venue. Now, Esperance FC is crying foul, blaming CAF for not respecting the rule that states that a match cannot be invalidated because of a malfunction or a bad decision deriving from the VAR. In a statement issued on Facebook, Esperance said they will not give up their rights and will defend them in every legal way possible. Esperance led 1-0 in Friday's second leg, but their Moroccan opponents left the pitch after an equalizer they scored was disallowed. Wydad wanted the video assistant referee to check if the goal should stand, but the system was not working.
The controversy is therefore far from over. The decision to replay the final elicited outrage from the Tunisians, very upset against CAF. The Moroccans, on the other hand, are happy. Joining us now is Wydad's assistant coach, Moussa Ndao. Thank you, Moussa. I can imagine your joy after CAF's decision. For you, it's only justice, right?
Well, yes. At least for us, it's only fair. Joy? I don't know, but we expected that too. During the first leg final, we were badly treated by the Egyptian referee Grisha, who was later suspended for 6 months by CAF for refusing us a valid goal and a penalty. In the second leg, the whole world saw the images of shame The final was very shameful to watch, where we were in total insecurity in the game in relation to everything around us. And what's more, to make matters worse, the VAR, which deprived us of 2 goals in Rabat in the first leg, failed yet again during the second leg, even though we equalized correctly. So CAF's verdict is simply justice for football, but not only for WAC. It is above all, this final exposed all the practices that Esperance of Tunis has been doing to win this match. So it's not about Wydad Casablanca, but it's about Africa as a whole. We are just a few days to the start of the African Cup of Nations, an image that simply shames African football.
However, the VAR rule states that no match can be invalidated in the event of a VAR malfunction. If we follow this logic, you seem to be wrong not to have continued the match, aren't you?
No, not even. I was an actor. I was on the field, so I'm in a better position than anyone else to talk about it. The problem, as I said earlier, was that we were deprived of a victory in the first leg because of VAR. In the second leg, the VAR did not exist. There was a semblance of a television set they had set up, and the referee too, an accomplice, went to consult these televisions, even though he knew that the VAR did not exist. So there were a lot of breaches in the final that practically fell off the cliff. It's the way they win African Cups that has been exposed, because there are so many antecedents in this African Cup. Last year, we remember Angolan side Primeiro de Agosto. They were unfairly beaten in the same manner when they scored a valid goal. So that's a lot. We didn't leave the field. We just asked the referee to review our goal to see if it was valid or not. So caught between the hammer and the anvil, because the referee himself knew that the VAR did not exist. So he could not consult it. That's why the match ended in complete chaos, without forgetting in any case the lack of security. We had the impression of fighting. These are images that have remained in our heads, but incredible. In any case, this decision, that's football justice. That's what I'm going to say.
So in what state of mind are your players? Are you ready to play even if it's tomorrow?
Well, yes, we are ready. If they even want to play it in Afghanistan, we are ready. And whenever they call us, I think that to leave them even from sports, we are there just quiet. We were crowned Moroccan champions 3 days ago, so we are fine in our heads. We are Moroccan champions. We are very comfortable with that. Now it's the knowledge when we are going to play again. We are told it's after the African Cup of Nations. We have players who are in the national team who are going to participate in this African Cup of Nations. But we are ready. We are waiting for them to play this final again, because quite simply, the best thing is to play it.
Thank you very much, Musa, and good luck in the future. That's Musa Sandao, the assistant coach of Wydad Casablanca.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And then our congratulations on your title, the 20th in Wydad's history. And good luck to your players selected for the Africa Cup of Nations, an African Cup of Nations that could be played without Mali after a warning by FIFA. The World Football Governing Body is putting pressure on the country to put an end to the crisis that has shaken its football for 2 years. Since the Federation's suspension 2 years ago, Malian football officials have been slow to solve the problem. A failure of the General Assembly on 15th June exposes them to suspension, warned Veron Mosenga Omba, director of member associations in Africa and the Caribbean, who was in Bamako last Saturday.
A threat to be taken very seriously by Malians. FIFA is unhappy about meddling in Malian football, which has been ongoing for the past 2 years. The world governing body will meet to decide the future of the team. If Malian football leaders want to avoid suspension of their team, it is up to them to put an end to the institutional crisis that has lasted for far too long in the eyes of the World Football Governing Body. And the message of FIFA's envoy Veron Mosenga Omba to the local authorities is irrevocable. Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, is clear. FIFA has been and remains at the side of Malian football, which has incredible potential. But the latter runs the risk of a suspension at the FIFA level and its participation in CAN on 15 June. A warning by the director of the African and Caribbean Member Associations in a tweet at FIFA. The president of FIFA will not allow 2 or 5 people to take Malian football hostage, he continued after a visit to Bamako on Saturday. A message to the Malian Prime Minister Bouba Sise, and I quote, facilitate the way out of the crisis in which Malian football has been for a long time, end of quote. Mali knows what to expect. It has no choice but to comply with the will of FIFA at the risk of suffering the wrath of the body headed by Gianni Infantino. This is what the Prime Minister hopes to avoid. Bouba Sise said the Malian government will support FIFA's efforts to promote the development of Malian football.
Parlons à présent de la Coupe du Monde féminine qui a...
Let's now talk about the Women's World Cup that began on France on Friday. A complicated start for African teams. South Africa and Nigeria fell from the start. The Banyana lost to Spain 3-1, while the Super Falcons were swept aside by Norway 3-0. And this Monday, Cameroon will try to save the continent's honor when they face Canada. Another World Cup, the Under-20 World Cup, continues in Poland, and an adventure that ended at the quarterfinals for African teams. Mali and Senegal were last in the running, losing 4-2 to Italy and South Korea respectively after the penalty shootouts. The semi-finals are on Tuesday. Italy will face Ukraine, while Ecuador will play South Korea for a place in the final, scheduled for next Saturday.
Prévu samedi prochain.
And that's the end of this program. I'll see you next week for another edition of Football Planets. But the conversation continues on African News and Africanews.com. Have an excellent week and goodbye.